Joining us now, Congressman Darrell Issa. Congressman, it's always a pleasure having you on. Your reaction to this, the Republican Senators Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley, they want the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who's overseeing the probe into Hunter Biden, they want to know why a senior Justice Department official, Nicholas McQuaid, is not recusing himself from this probe due to his links to Hunter's lawyer. They both worked at the same law firm, Latham and Watkins.
Well, exactly. You know, one of the reasons that you recuse yourself is the appearance or possible appearance of conflict. Clearly, there is an appearance of conflict. If we have to, over time, get records of billing and common hallway discussions, we will. But by that time, the damage is done, particularly on a case where there's already been a considerable amount of insider influence, as there was to squelch this whole story of Hunter Biden before the last election.
And Congressman, the other weird thing that's going on is Nicholas McQuaid, again, he's the acting assistant attorney general in the DOJ's criminal division. He worked with Hunter's lawyer, Chris Clark, at that same law firm, Latham Watkins, for 3 years. But that job does not show up on McQuaid's bio on the DOJ's website. Why did that get left out of his bio?
Well, as you can imagine, one of the things that they have the luxury of doing is not mentioning which partners in a large law firm you work with, but the fact that he worked directly with one of Hunter Biden's attorneys means that even though this is a large international firm, it becomes very close and personal when you are in the hallway or in an office or even billing time in support of these very difficult questions, these very political questions.
You know, Congressman, Senator Chuck Grassley is also saying that Hunter Biden has close ties to state officials in Delaware. Are you concerned about whether or not this probe into Hunter Biden, which is occurring in the state of Delaware, whether it will be above board and they're going to cross all the T's and get everything done?
Well, I'm very concerned that the FBI acted inappropriately, even in the last administration, when it came to protecting both Hunter Biden and his father, the then candidate for president. So obviously, when you look at a household word in Delaware and you look at the President of the United States, there's no question at all you're going to have an appearance, at least, of it. But let's understand, you have a drug user who was disappearing for periods of time while the vice president was trying to find him. And you've got the Secret Service and other agencies, including the FBI, aware of his drug use, hiding it. So you even have law enforcement and the Secret Service that really was aware of criminal behavior and helped hide it while Vice President Biden was the vice president and his son was committing crimes.
So if this DOJ probe, we don't know where it's going to end up, once it concludes, are you going to pick it up and look into what's going on with Hunter Biden?
I think it's important that we realize that Congress has a role, and it's an important one, which is that we look at things that might affect legislation or compliance with laws. In this case, we've got to ask, how could this kind of activity fall through the crack? How could they have Hunter Biden's laptop showing much of his wrongful behavior, including income tax evasion, it appears, and then it didn't get out? So both the compliance side and the legislative side is going to require multiple committees to do their work, including Ways and Means and including Judiciary.
To your point, Congressman, the Senators Grassley and Johnson, they're worried that this probe by the DOJ into Hunter Biden's potential tax evasion, alleged money laundering, and violations of foreign lobbying laws, they're worrying it could be compromised because it's being held in Delaware. It's being done in Delaware. They're asking if any other workers at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Biden's home state of Delaware recuse himself. But, Congressman, the senators are upset. They're not getting any answers from the DOJ on this.
No, and to be honest, that's where elections are going to make a difference. If Ron Johnson is a chairman next year and Chuck Grassley is a chairman again, what we're going to see is a very different response by definition, or at least subpoenas that can be issued. Right now, they are basically sticking up a finger to these senators, as they did during Fast and Furious and other times when we weren't in the majority. This is one of the problems with government, which is all in the hands of one party. That party can be very arrogant, and right now the party of the president is arrogantly ignoring the legitimacy of these requests.
Congressman Issa, again, always a pleasure. Thanks for spending time with us. Come back soon.